The Cholas did not just rule India, they ruled the Indian Ocean. They built a dam 2000 years ago that still waters fields today, a granite temple that defied gravity, a naval fleet that struck 14 cities across Southeast Asia in one campaign. The Cholas were not just any other ordinary dynasty, they were a civilization that the world forgot too quickly until now. You are on India's Golden Age podcast. Subscribe now. The Cholas had been there forever. Emperor Ashoka mentions them in 273 before Common Era. By the 2nd century Common Era, Karikala Chola had built the Colonial across the Kaveri, a dam so enduring that it still irrigates fields in Tamil Nadu today. That was the Chola way, built to last. For the longest time, the Cholas were minor chieftains who married their daughters into Pallava and Pandya families. Then history offered them an opening. In 848, the Pallavas and Pandavas were tearing up at each other over the Kaveri Delta. Decades of war had left both kingdoms exhausted, weakened. Into that chaos stepped the Chola dynasty, and by 985 Common Era, Arulmozhi Varman ascended the throne. You know him by another name, Rajaraja Chola I, the Sun King. He's 38 and he has plans. 1010, Rajaraja Chola stands at the base of what he has just built, the Brihadeeshwara temple, a granite tower rising 66 meters, one of the tallest temple towers in the whole world even today. Built largely without any mortar or cement, no modern machinery. The capstone is 80 tons, lifted to the top, probably by an earthen ramp that reportedly stretched for miles. Imagine the massive effort, the great teams of workers. It is revered as one of the 3 great living Chola temples. It is a UNESCO heritage site, but that's a story for another day. Brihadeeshwara was not just a temple, it was an economic hub. Rajaraja's inscriptions list 600 salaried Devdasi dancers, priests, musicians, cooks, accountants, gardeners, all on payroll. Each year the temple received thousands of tons of rice and redistributed as wages and seed grain. Rajaraja wasn't building just a temple, he was building an institution. Sometime earlier, Rajaraja had also completed a remarkable land survey of his empire. Every village boundary recorded, every irrigation right noted, every taxable asset documented. Historians often compared it to intent to England's Domesday book, compiled 76 years later. Now let us turn our attention to another side of Rajaraja, a military strategist who looks at the map the way a chess player looks at the board, not asking what is here, asking what position do I need to be in 3 moves from now. His first move was Sri Lanka. The island sits across India's southern tip, a choke point between 2 seas. He captured the northern half and built a Shiva temple. His second move was also strategic. The Maldives, small Korean islands to most people, to Rajaraja, they were toll boats for Arab merchant ships passing east. And when he passed on his mantle to his son Rajendra, the Indian Ocean board was set. One move was pending, Srivijaya, but his son Rajendra had other plans. 122 Common Era. After months of marching, Rajendra Chola's army reaches the Ganga. They defeat the Pala king. According to a legend, Rajendra orders the defeated kings to carry pots of Ganga water all the way back to Tamil Nadu, a distance of nearly 2,000 kilometers. Rajendra is building a new capital, Gangaikonda Cholapuram. The Ganga water is poured into its vast artificial reservoir, the Chola Gangam, stretching for miles. The message is unmistakable. The holiest river in north has been brought to Tamil Nadu. The king of south is now the king of the north. Rajendra also sailed missions to Song Dynasty in China. He wasn't ignoring the oceans. By then, the Srivijayans were also becoming a nuisance. The greatest naval expedition in medieval Asian history in 1025 was perhaps started by a merchant guild's complaint. The Ayavole, Ayinurvar, or the 500 Guild were not simply a merchant group. They had their own flag, the Bull of Shiva, their own armed contingent, the Three-Leaf Warriors, their own legal codes, their own diplomatic protocols, their own inscriptions found today all over Southeast Asia. 5 centuries before the East India Company was incorporated, the South Indian merchant guilds were running multinational corporations. For years, the Srivijayan Empire had been blocking the sea lanes through the states of Malacca, seizing ships, confiscating cargo. Traders who tried to bypass Srivijayan's ports lost everything. The harassed guild leader approached the Chola court. At the same time, in the court of Song Dynasty of China, the Srivijayan envoy made a remark that added fuel to the fire. He said, "The Cholas are a subordinate power. We control the trade through the straits. Trade, prestige, strategy." They finally converged in October 1025 at Nagapattinam harbor. The Cholas likely combined royal naval forces with merchant fleets owned by the guilds. The merchant ships were rebuilt into fighting ships, archer platforms, catapults, reinforced hulls. The Chola forces were augmented with the private navies of the guilds. Rajendra flagged off the naval attack. Srivijaya waited at Gada, the major port, for the attack. Rajendra sent a decoy there. The main fleet sailed to the Sunda Strait and struck Palembang, the political center, from the south. The city was unprepared. It fell quickly. The palace gate was taken as tribute. The Srivijayans were humbled. The Chola fleet struck 14 Srivijayan forts in a coordinated campaign. Read that list today and you are essentially unrolling the entire maritime spine of Southeast Asia. And then Rajendra made a decisive choice. He told his commanders,
"We are not staying. Srivijayan stranglehold is broken. We go home. The guilds will handle the rest."
No garrisons were left behind, no governor appointed. The objective was not to rule Sumatra, but to secure the sea lanes and ensure the free flow of trade. The Srivijayan dominance of the states of Malacca weakened after the attack, and the influence of Tamil guilds grew. A 1088 inscription found in Barus in Sumatra records the presence of the Tamil and Nurvar guild. The Chola state and the merchant guilds worked in close partnership, protection in exchange for prosperity, a system designed to expand influence without direct rule. China's Belt and Road Initiative is a poor imitation of what the Cholas had built in the 11th century. Chola trade dominance was also fueled by engineering. South Indian guilds built ships unlike anything the world had seen. Imagine Neely, a shipwright, 100 shareholders in the Maritime Guild. She builds a stitched ship, no iron, no nails. Each plank is drilled, packed with coconut fiber that swells in water, and then stitched with coir rope. Why this pattern, her apprentice asked. When the wood swells, the cross-stitch holds. The sea tests every joint. Racin seals the seams. The hull flexes, dispersing impact. A nailed European hull concentrates stress. Nails strain, wood splits. Combined with the Malabar teak, Indian ships were far more resilient, repairable, and long-lived. Late 1200s, Marco Polo stands at the edge of the Tamil Quay. He watches a ship so vast it seems to carry its own horizon. He writes by lamplight.
The ships of Malabar are so large they require crews of 150 to 300 men. They have multiple decks and more than 60 cabins for merchants. The hull is divided into watertight compartments, so that if one section is breached, the others hold. Many are fastened not with iron nails, but with cords, stitched like fabric. The merchants tell me this makes the hull flexible. It is able to withstand impacts that would shatter our vessels. I confess I do not understand the mechanism, but I see the results.
Polo describes ships approaching 80 meters. Columbus's Santa Maria was 19. Indian ships are 4 times the size with watertight compartments, a feature European shipbuilders would not independently develop for another 5 centuries. Polo sailed home in 1295. People called him a liar for decades. The ships were simply too large to believe. The Chola dynasty officially ended in 1279 Common Era. After a few decades, in March 1311, Malik Kafur, general of Alauddin Khilji, marches into the Tamil south. The campaign moves swiftly. At the temple of Chidambaram, Kafur's forces encounter immense wealth. Amir Khusro, the court poet of Delhi, records what follows.
The ground once carried the scent of musk. Now it is marked by blood.
Ceilings were stripped of jewels, shrines were destroyed. The scale of plunder was staggering. All of it carried north to Delhi. What took centuries to build took just a few weeks to empty. The temple economy that somehow survived the Malik Kafur attack did not survive the next blow. By 1860, under the British Raj, the Inam Commission declassified temple lands as state property. A 1,000-year-old economy was dismantled by paperwork. And then came the British colonial officers and collectors equipped with catalogs and cameras. They moved through Tamil Nadu with clear stealing method: identify, catalog, remove. The global art market for Indian artifacts grew rapidly under colonial rule. According to UNESCO estimates, thousands of pieces of arts, many of them deities, are stolen from Indian temples and are currently held in Western museums or private collections. Under traditional Indian law, a temple deity is not an antique. It's not a cultural object. A deity is a legal person, a living god worshipped in a specific temple for specific reasons, for a specific tradition. The Nataraja of Shivapuram, the dancing Shiva of Pathur, they stand today stripped of all context behind climate-controlled glass in institutions that call them art. They are not art, they are absences, like a living person missing. The Chola civilization never died. In Swami Malaya, bronze casters still practice the lost wax technique, the Seer Purdue, perfected during the Chola period, unsurpassed anywhere in the medieval world. This method, refined to a high level of precision, has been passed down generations, surviving political change, colonial disruption, and time itself. Some things refuse to die. In 2004, the physicists of CERN in Geneva placed Nataraja at their entrance. They'd see it as a symbol of the universe, the constant creation, constant destruction. A Chola artisan's conception, shaped in the 10th century, speaks to modern science. Bharatanatyam, the dance form that Chola temples institutionalized, is today taught from Chennai to Chicago. The Chola army came home in 1025, but the Chola culture and influence stayed in Southeast Asia. It is in its temples, in the Sanskrit and Tamil words embedded in local languages. India is now expanding naval infrastructure in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, positioned at the mouth of the Malacca choke point, the same choke point Rajendra struck 1,000 years ago. The sea lanes still decide everything. They always have. The Strait of Hormuz is the latest reminder. The names of the powers change, the map does not. The long maritime memory of India is slowly returning. Empires march on land, civilizations sail. I'm Sarvajeet, and you've been listening to India's Golden Age podcast. Subscribe and share. And to explore India's first Golden Age further, my novel Dhruva Devi is coming, a story of a queen who made Chandragupta. We'll sail to a next destination in the coming week. Till then, bye for now. Jai Hind.